There's been a lot of discussion about the durability update for League of Legends, and I think many people have been misreading what it will mean for the meta. I'm going to tell you about how this change is not actually good news for lower skilled players, and just like Russia invading during the Ukrainian winter, it's not good news for tanks. Full disclosure, I am a garbage player at this game. I peaked Diamond 1 last season, and nothing about my clicking had anything to do with that. I often have a hard time clicking on the river fruit. One common reaction from a lot of players who I would consider lower skilled like me is they think the durability changes will help them. I'm here to tell you that increasing time to kill is a buff to good micro players. League is the kind of game where multiple styles of players can succeed. A lot of people associate the current high damage meta with players with high levels of micro skill. But when you think about it logically, a very short engagement leaves very little time for actually clicking. This favors the player who can move to unexpected positions on the map and generally uses brain to be in the places the enemy doesn't expect. If you surprise someone with your good map movement and vision control, the engagement itself is short. When fights last longer, there is more room for skill expression in your micro simply because there's more time for movement. Longer fights aren't lower skill, in fact they're quite the opposite. A higher skill player will have more opportunities to show his superiority and more opportunities to separate himself from a lower skill player who might have previously won a short engagement even with worse micro, simply based on good mental adjustments. Almost a decade ago, I was the worst player on a team that qualified for the initial LCS play-in tournament. Back then, fights lasted so much longer than today, and at the time, having someone who would tell people where to ward and what to build was a somewhat groundbreaking idea. So even though my mechanical skill was garbage, I found a place on a pretty good team. And what I can tell you is that back then, although all players were worse, the ones with better micro shined more than the players like me who had to use good macro by default. I am strongly expecting that to be the case with the durability buffs, and I've been seeing a lot of players who are like me and try to squeeze as much rank as they can out of good macro, good builds, and staying ahead of the meta that have been celebrating this buff to durability as though it will improve their rank, and it is doubtful that it will. If you think about it, right now, in a fight that lasts 10 seconds, you might have to move your mouse 50 times. If the fight lasts 5 more seconds, that's another 25 movements. That's 25 more opportunities for a higher skilled player to move with precision, and 25 more opportunities for a lower skilled player to misclick. However, I am still looking forward to these changes, even if it means my rank will drop, because I believe that League is a better game with longer time to kill. Power creep pushed us so far towards fancy outplays for esports purposes that it made the game itself too fast, too much like Street Fighter, and strayed too far from its roots. Still, I've got good news for you if you don't consider yourself a very micro-intensive player. Increasing the duration of battles will give you more time to strategize mid-fight. Also, for the first few months, the meta will swing wildly, and innovative players will have a chance to flex their creative skills in a way not possible since the Runes Reforged shakeup. I'll give you one more example of how better durability will help out players who have worse macro. Previously, a player who had better map reading skills and who rotated just 2 or 3 seconds earlier to get to a fight and influence it, in those 2 or 3 seconds might have made all the difference. Now, with the durability increase, being 2 or 3 seconds ahead won't be the same advantage as it was before. So a player who has better micro, but worse macro, and was a little late to a fight before, got punished harder than they will in this patch. This is just one way the change favors those with good micro over those with good macro. Having both will still be better, but until you get to the highest levels of play, that's not as common. Players are almost always better at one or the other, and this meta will shift that balance of power. Let's talk about some champs who will benefit and who won't. There's been a lot of speculation about this, and I feel like much of it is wrong. Some obvious beneficiaries are champs like Vayne and Fiora, who have built-in percentage true damage. With everyone getting more HP, this will make them more valuable. These are pretty obvious conclusions. One thing I've seen thrown around a lot that I think is totally wrong is that tanks will benefit from this patch and assassins will be neutered. I actually think the exact opposite will happen. Tanks rely on their base damage and durability to win fights. After the patch, tanks will still only have their base damage, this won't be buffed, but everyone else will have more durability. The tank is also more durable, but now they are over-indexed into that. Their base damage will still be exactly the same, but the time needed to kill enemies will increase more than other classes. I do not believe this patch will be kind to tanks. Support tanks that weren't already expected to have any kill pressure will remain useful. Top lane ones will not be as strong. On the other hand, I expect assassins to become a stronger role than they currently are. While it's true that extra armor and magic resist will make lethality and magic pen weaker, it doesn't speak to the totality of what a quick kill will be worth. First off, I expect assassin builds to gravitate towards 100% glass cannon builds. Right now, We see so many assassins building some bruiser items, and it makes a lot of sense. You don't need to go full glass cannon to get a kill. It's all overkill. This is why things like Gore Drinker Talon were so strong for a long time. You could still kill squishy targets while increasing your chance to live. I expect assassins to increase in value because ADCs are going to increase in value more. In the deep past, an assassin would generally try to kill the ADC and maybe escape, but probably die. But as long as you killed the ADC, you were doing your job. When everyone has more tankiness, consistent DPS becomes ever more important. ADCs will skyrocket in value in this new patch, and assassins will gain value in being able to kill them at the start of an engagement. If you can swap your life for an ADC, then you will put your team in a position to win the fight, especially as the game goes on. Expect assassins to become more valuable after the patch, because if they build full glass cannon, they will still be able to kill an ADC. This video is dropping the day of the patch, so you'll be able to check my predictions immediately. On a personal note, I haven't done a video in a couple weeks because I got norovirus, and then right after I recovered, I went and helped my dad lay down 18 pallets of sod in his yard, and then I got reinfected again. The last 2 weeks have not been fun for me at all. But I'm back at it. I'll be doing a stream where I'll be playing a game, and then between games I'll be checking stats on all the champions to see who's winning and who's losing, and evaluating immediate winners and losers of the patch. Check it out if you want to join in. If you prefer that in video form, I'll have a quick reaction video up a day after the patch where we'll check out the early data for the immediate winners and losers. Thanks for watching.